UFC judges have zero idea what the fuck they're doing, and to prove that today, we'll be looking at the worst robberies in UFC history. And a quick note before we start, these will be well-known fights, so no WMMA fucking Fight Night prelims from 2015. These are fights you care about. And it just so happens that this list includes the 3 consensus GOATs of the sport. Starting off with maybe the worst title fight decision I've ever seen in my life, and it's St Piere versus Johnny Hendricks. The judges ruled this a split decision in GSP's favor, with 2 of the judges giving this a 48-47 for GSP. The clear rounds that aren't really debated, round 2 was Hendricks, round 3 was GSP, round 4 was Hendricks, and round 5 was GSP. So that leaves it 2-2, and so the toss-up round, even though you can't even call it a toss-up round because it's so obvious, was round 1. And throughout the video, the grappling exchanges won't be too significant, but just to remind everyone, damage is the most important thing. Everything else to that is secondary. So takedowns and control time and all that bullshit only matters if the damage is very close or just is actually even. Despite being an NCAA champion wrestler, Johnny Hendricks gets taken down by GSP in the first exchange. Johnny explodes to his feet, and in the process, GSP tries to land a guillotine, but he has zero chance since Hendricks is able to slip out onto the side. You know, they break out, then they clinch up again, and it's pretty even knees. A minute, just kind of clinch, nothing really happens. So they get separated, and right off that separation, GSP shoots for another takedown, but gets clipped with an uppercut. GSP holds onto that single leg and gets hit with some pretty big shots by Hendricks. But here's where the round completely just slips away from GSP. GSP is able to get Hendricks on the fence, and he tries to complete the takedown, but Hendricks is doing the splits to prevent this. And so GSP basically has his head in Hendricks' crotch. It's from here that Hendricks drops 5 absolute fucking nukes of elbows right on GSP's temple, inside of the head. Right after this, you can see that GSP wobbles, and his knees actually locking up from being in that splits position is the only thing that keeps him from being actually knocked down. But it's clear that GSP is taking a ton of damage from this because he gives up on that takedown and tries to go to the clinch. Hendricks turns him right around, gets him on the fence, and lands some more knees. While they're in the clinch, you can already see that GSP's face is visibly bruised and swelled up, and by his right eye, where he was hitting him, he has a gash. He's already cut open. And keep in mind, this whole sequence happened in maybe 30 seconds. So it went from a minute of clinching and nothing really happened to him getting hit with that uppercut and getting those bombs dropped on him, which did serious damage. I can't emphasize this enough. I would show the full clip, but YouTube's a bunch of pussies and they'll just fucking take the video down. And so after this, Hendricks is actually able to take GSP down. He has him down right on the fence, so Hendricks postures up, lands one good elbow, but then GSP is able to get up. So I'd like to point out that the grappling exchanges are even, so keep that in mind. But right after they get up, you know, they're bouncing around, feigning a little bit, and GSP begins to shoot for a takedown, and right at that moment, Hendricks throws up a knee. But midway through, Hendricks kind of regrets it, so he begins to sprawl out and get underhooks in, so his knee isn't moving forward much. Its movement's being slowed by him pulling it back. Regardless, GSP still basically runs into his knee, which causes damage to him. Enough for GSP to disengage and abandon the takedown. After this, GSP lands a good body kick and, you know, sticks him with that jab. And here's the thing. And then lands a glancing. And I feel like I have to mention, and I have to emphasize this because people, if they just hear head kick, will lose their mind. Yes, it was a head kick, but it glanced off him. It had zero effect on Hendricks. Good strike, for sure. Makes up for that ass beating? No. You know, they get back into the clinch. Hendricks is really favoring these knees to GSP's thighs to kind of soften him up for the later rounds. Right at the end, you know, there's some little small exchanges that aren't meaningful. At the end, GSP lands a good leg kick and a nice body shot to Hendricks. But Hendricks counters with a right hand to the face. Alright, so to recap this round 1, which is the deciding round. Each had a takedown apiece. GSP had that fake guillotine that literally didn't even get in for a second. And Hendricks out-controlled him in the clinch. But that doesn't matter, really, seriously. It's all about damage, and that wasn't even close in this round. Hendricks severely out-damaged George. Not only did he straight up outstrike him, but he also landed the more damaging, impactful shots. And specifically, it's those 5 elbows. They not only cut GSP open, which isn't the biggest thing, trust me, I know GSP has those easy to cut fucking face from all the scar tissue. No, that's not the only thing. It bruised him, it was swelling, and most importantly, it made him buckle. It made his knees buckle. That was doing serious damage to him. If GSP stays on that single leg, he's getting knocked out from those elbows. That's why he let go of it. After that, Hendricks would win 2 rounds and GSP would also win 2 rounds. And this win doesn't get talked about enough, but even then, people knew it was a robbery. Literally every single media member, that means 16 out of the 16 media members, scored this 48-47 Hendricks. Joe Rogan thought it. Hell, even the crowd thought it. When he got on his coach's shoulders, when he, you know, parades him around the octagon, his face looks like a punching bag. He begins to get booed when he gets on his shoulders. Even the arena thought that. And GSP was the fucking favorites of favorites. After that fight, Dana White agrees. He notes that it's about damage and that because of that, he thinks Hendricks should have won. And he doesn't understand how anyone could have seen that GSP won that first round. And so I think this played a little bit more than just judge incompetence. Not saying this is the only reason or a big conspiracy theory, but it's important to note at the time this was pre-Jon Jones and GSP was the consensus GOAT. And he had told his coaches, and there was tons of rumors about him retiring after this fight. People basically knew it. And I think because he was a good ambassador for the sport and he was an icon and he was the GOAT, they wanted him to go out on a good note. And so I honestly think if Hendricks didn't clearly win every single round or finish GSP, I think the judges were pretty content with leaving that arena as GSP as the winner. And if you think I'm hating on GSP, I love the guy, I'm telling you. He's super cool, super likable, and obviously one of the top 3 GOATs, if not the GOAT in a lot of people's eyes. And if it's any consolation to the GSP fans, Johnny Hendricks was clearly on the sauce in this fight. And once you saw the crackdown on that, this dude was a shit can and he was never elite again. But juiced or not, he didn't pop for it, so this wasn't a no contest. And he clearly won the fight. All right, next one, we got Henry Cejudo versus Demetrius Johnson 2. The first fight ended with Mighty Mouse KOing him in the first, just showing him absolute fucking levels. Shit wasn't close. He starched him. But in the second fight, it was a split decision for Cejudo, 48-47. All right, the obvious rounds that aren't really argued about. Round 1, Mighty Mouse. Round 3, Mighty Mouse. Round 4, Cejudo. The undecided rounds really are 2 and 5. The judges obviously gave both to Cejudo, but they were wrong. Round 5, there's definitely a case to be made for Demetrius Johnson winning that round. I think Cejudo probably edged it out. And even then, that's not important because you don't need 4 rounds to win a fight. You only need 3. And so that means the deciding round for this fight was round number 2. And I feel like I'm going to have to re-emphasize this every single time so people don't say I'm wrong. It's about damage. It's who out-damaged them. Everything else is secondary. You know, Triple C being a wrestling champion, he immediately starts it off, gets in close, gets in the clinch. Johnson's able to turn around and land some clean knees to the body. They're pretty good. They separate. Johnson throws a leg kick. Cejudo tries one as well. They got small, even exchanges like this. And rewatching, you can really tell that Cejudo's throwing these big shots like overhand rights and body and head kicks, but none of them are landing cleanly or even really landing at all. They're all bouncing right off of the gloves or arms. So maybe live, even though you have the same fucking camera that we're watching on the replay, maybe just because of the crowd and the hype, you thought that shit landed clean. Which isn't an excuse. I mean, it's your one fucking job while you're there is to not fuck up this. But anyway, let's get back to it. Cejudo fails 2 takedowns, and in off those breakdowns was controlled in the clinch. Once again, DJ's landed knees, and when they separate, it's back to the leg kicks. Cejudo's really finding nothing on the feet. In the very last minute of the fight, Cejudo gets an inside trip to take down Mighty Mouse. Cejudo gets into half guard and he begins to camp. This dude literally camps in half guard like he sent up to watch fucking bears at Yellowstone, dude. It's ridiculous. I'm not even kidding when I say this. He doesn't land a single clean ground and pound shot. He literally does nothing, and he only attempts to throw 2, which once again glance off Demetrius Johnson's arms and shoulders. Johnson gets to his knees and has Cejudo still holding on to that single, so they're both basically bent over facing each other. Cejudo, realizing he's literally done fuck all, begins kneeing DJ's shoulders. Yes, I said that right. I'm telling you. It's so weird. This dude begins to fucking begins throwing these big knees, but they're to Demetrius Johnson's shoulders, which obviously have no effect. DJ's literally sitting there unfazed, just letting it happen because it's like, who the fuck cares? Round ends in that position. Quick recap for this is Johnson completely outstruck Cejudo and it wasn't even close. And obviously he landed way more damage. He was definitely hurting with those leg kicks, making him stumble. And at the very end, you know, every time he would land, Cejudo would have to back up a little bit and re-put his weight on that back foot because it stung him. They were making him think twice. Simple as that. Cejudo never landed clean and was throwing no ground and pound. His big highlight was kneeing Johnson in the shoulder like 7 times. Which, again, I have to emphasize, does no damage. Like, I'm not even kidding when I say 1 leg kick is more damage than 7 knees to the fucking shoulder muscle. It's just ridiculous. Cejudo went 1 for 3 on takedowns and had 40 seconds of control time with literally no offensive damage or submission threats. He's actually just wet blanketing Johnson. And the commentators know this. I mean, they literally say, even though Cejudo's not doing much, it's a mental victory that he can get him down. Like, I'm telling you, everyone knew that this dude was doing nothing. And I feel like a broken record here, but damage trumps all in the scoring criteria. You have to do damage. And so when the damage isn't even close, you don't even look at the grappling. It's an actual travesty that judges can be so retarded with these kinds of things. And this one's so bad, you honestly can't even think it's fucking incompetence. And I know I said I had a little conspiracy on that last one with GSP. Oh, I got an actual conspiracy for fucking this one. They wanted Johnson to lose this fight. It's fucking obvious. And it makes sense, too. Dana White obviously was tired of Demetrius Johnson because he thought flyweight was a dead division that was losing his money. And with Johnson as a champ, he couldn't sell pay-per-views. So I think, and a lot of people think, and it's kind of just the obvious conclusion, it's like, well, why wouldn't you want to get rid of this guy as the champ? Get some new blood in there, get Henry Cejudo. You know, you have this guy coming in already with an Olympic medal in wrestling, so that's the whole pay-per-view side of the wrestling, boys. And you know, the UFC actions afterwards, I think, really support this, because DJ, despite having 12 consecutive title defenses, yes, 12 consecutive fucking title defenses, and with over half of those being by finish, these were dominant. These weren't him fucking scraping past guys like Izzy. Yeah, that's right, there's a random Izzy stray in this video. Fuck you, Izzy. Despite all that, he gets no rematch and gets shipped to fucking ONE FC for Benjamin ass cream, dude. I know what you guys are gonna say, oh, the trade made sense. Dude, even if it makes sense, it's not the right thing to do. And quick edit, obviously it only makes sense for money, because I'll just tell you right now, being the one champion doesn't really mean fucking jack shit. And especially not back in 2018, 2019. And because of that, I think maybe Dana goes up to, you know, the judges or whatever, and doesn't rig it, but it's like, you know, if it's close, give the nod to Cejudo. If Johnson clearly doesn't win all 5 rounds or gets a finish, or if it's not obvious, you know, give the nod to Cejudo, which is what I think they did. And regardless if that conspiracy isn't true, this was an absolute robbery. Final one, the one you've all been waiting for, and yes, you knew this was coming. Jon Jones versus Dominic Reyes. 2 judges gave Jones a 48-47, with one giving him a 49-46 win, meaning that Jon Jones won 4 rounds of that fight. Just fucking laughable, honestly. It's just sad. The obvious rounds were rounds 1 and 2 for Reyes, rounds 4 and 5 for Jones, and so the decider round is round 3. And this one is just brutal, especially if you rewatch it, because it's just so obvious. Outside of the small exchange, the first thing that literally happens in this round, a clean head kick that slips right over his guard. So literally 30 seconds into the round, and Reyes has already landed a head kick, one of the most damaging strikes that you can land. And I'm not even going to mention fucking grappling, since there is no grappling. This is pure damage, guys. Right after that, he keeps up the good combination after he teeps Jon, then is able to land a right uppercut. After this, Reyes steps in and rips a full force body kick, which lands cleanly on Jones. Jones responds with a kick of his own, a side kick that connects and hits Reyes clean. Jones responds with a side kick that connects and hits Reyes clean with a right straight. Pretty good shot. But Reyes counters with a left hook that loops around Jones's guard and hits him in the back of the head. So even though that didn't land as hard as maybe that right straight, when you're getting hit in the back of the head like that, that's doing a lot of damage. You know, they go on to trade leg kicks and have a small even exchange. You know, it's pretty even. Jones is doing his little side fucking Joe Rogan oblique kick. Reyes is just hitting normal leg kicks. With around 2 minutes left in the round, Reyes starts investing in these body shots. He lands a good body shot on Jones. Slipping off of that body shot, he lands an absolute bomb of an uppercut that slips right under Jones' guard and lands flush. It literally points his chin up to the ceiling, in case you don't think that's doing any damage for some kind of fucking reason. You know, they clinch up and it's even, with both of them throwing up some knees and little pitter-patter shots, until Reyes lands a clean elbow to the temple of Jon. You know, there's some more little small exchanges until Reyes lands another good body shot that gets Johns to back up and kind of stumble. You know, it gets a reaction out of him. He's clearly feeling all these body shots that have been adding up. Another small exchange. Jones counters with a jab, but Reyes is able to land a good left on him. And at the very, very end, Jones lands a good right. So not only did Reyes outstrike Jones on the numbers, he clearly, and I mean clearly, outdamaged him, like actually whooped his ass in the 3rd round. And I know most of you guys believe me, but this is to the Jones Glazers that are so fucking delusional. If you don't believe me, watch the Weasel's video on this fight where he breaks down each individual strike. And so I want you guys to go and watch that and genuinely tell me, after watching each of those strikes lands, who did more damage that round. I've talked about this fight in the past on my channel. It's obvious that most of the media gave this to this. The overwhelming majority of fans thought this was a robbery. Even Joe Rogan on the mic said he thought we'd have a new champion. Tons, and I mean tons of fighters came out on Twitter and they said, oh, I'll had Reyes. This is kind of crazy. But Jones got the nod on this one. And unfortunately, no, we don't go 3-on-3 for conspiracies, because I honestly don't understand why you'd want a guy like Jones as your fucking champion when he causes so many issues and doesn't have a very exciting fight style. So Jones brutally fucking robs Reyes. And then Reyes, this is the best part. You know, a guy like Hendricks, he got exposed after his fight. Juice head, gearhead, PED user. Career fizzled out. Cejudo after that fight proved he was legit, goes on to become double champ as an all-time great. Reyes after this fight gets completely shafted out of a fucking rematch because Jones ducks Reyes in the rematch, goes up to heavyweight, where funnily enough he's now ducking Aspinall. This guy just loves to duck any guy that isn't comically shorter than him and is younger than him. But anyway, so Reyes gets robbed of that rematch and then his career takes a dive. And I made a whole video on Reyes' downfall of his career and plenty others. I'll go link that up there. So when you're thinking about all-time GOAT rankings, I genuinely genuinely think, regardless of what the actual fucking official decision says, when you're talking about shit, you should add a win to Mighty Mouse's fucking title defenses, you know, that win over Cejudo. And when I talk about GOATs, which a lot of you have been requesting, I'll probably make a video on that. When there's a clear decision like this, I just go ahead and count that for him because it's the only thing right. Because it's the only right thing to do. And even though these guys are the GOATs, you know what I mean? You have to take away from GSP and Jon Jones's legacy with these fights. Does it destroy it? No, fucking obviously not. But it's retarded to watch it, understand it's a robbery, and then still choose to ignore it. Just choose at the end of the day, be like, well, you know, they raised his hand, so who gives a shit? Anyway, I thought these were the worst notable robberies. I know there's been recent ones like people think Jan, O'Malley. I'm sure there's going to be some Pantoja Urseg, even some Strickland DDP, which, you know, that's a really, really close fight. But I chose some all-time and really, you know, known ones, because those are just more egregious to me. But that's the video. Sorry I haven't been uploading. I've been sick as motherfucker and busy, but we're back on that grind. Thank you as always. It's GOATS of MMA. Comment if you want some videos idea. This was user requested. I'm not. Shout out to the user Master of Like. This dude has gotten like 5 fucking videos. So I'm telling you, if y'all don't believe me, just ask this dude. If you comment a good idea and I like it, I will make the video. So comment if you think you got some cool shit. But thank you so much for watching. We're almost at 1K subs. That shit's nuts. Y'all are the best. Love as always. And it's GOATS of MMA. Until next time, boys.